Welcome back, everyone, to Between the Ropes TV. As always, I'm joined by Josh and Ben. Guys, before we get started on this one, we've got a big announcement that we wanted to make. We are going to be doing our first ever live stream, and we're going to be doing it for one of the fights that we're going to be talking about in this video. Anthony Joshua versus Usyk. We're probably going to do it around the third or fourth undercard, something around that. So it's going to be a full night of boxing that you can join us for. We're going to be, essentially just doing a live stream, our live reaction to what's going on. I think we're probably going to have we're going to be supporting different people as well. So that could make it a little bit interesting as well. And as always, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And yeah, let's get on with the video. Today, we're going to be talking about the great heavyweight debate, we've called it. So essentially what we're going to cover is all the upcoming fights in the heavyweight division. The ones we're excited for, the ones we're fed up of, and then, of course, the ones we want to see next. And I think that's where we're probably going to vary a bit. Josh, I'll let you take it away because I've done a very upbeat intro there, and I'm kind of I've gassed myself out.
I'll be honest, you've gassed me out as well. That was so enthusiastic. I'm not doing the stream. I'm just going to watch you pair because I'm excited for it. So starting off, obviously, as Scott's just mentioned, we've got Anthony Joshua versus Alexander Usyk. It is his WBO mandatory, but it's still a big fight in the heavyweight division. We've got that on Sky Sports Box Office, September the 25th. Then we've got, if it happens, which we'll get onto, October the 9th, Fury Wilder 3. And then October the 30th, we've got Dylan Whyte back in action. It's not announced, but it does seem like all fingers are pointing towards Chris Arreola. So that's what we've got upcoming. What do you guys think on that?
I'm kind of happy with the Whyte fight to start with because I reckon he'll easily get past Arreola. And I mean, that's been a popular song, hasn't it, this year? Sorry, carrying on. Arreola, yeah. I think he'll get past him fine. And then I think basically what we'll see then is hopefully if Fury's not running his mouth, just saying the old rubbish just to get the views in for this pay-per-view, which isn't selling tickets at the moment. Hopefully that means a big heavyweight clash at the end of the year, Whyte versus Fury, which I'm sure we'll talk a little bit out in a bit. So yeah, I'm definitely happy for the Whyte one. We knew the Wilder one was going to happen. I'm still very excited because I like both fighters. I know you guys don't, but you never know whether Wilder's just going to hit him with a good old bomb squad and then it'll be game over for Fury. Josh Usyk, again, I'm really excited to see Usyk against a bigger opponent as well. You know, we've seen him tested a little bit against Chisora. It's going to be interesting to see how he handles Joshua, how he goes in. We know he's probably got, in my opinion, a better boxing brain than Joshua, but there is going to be a massive height difference. So I guess for me, that's the free way I see these three fights. I'm quite excited for all of them, I'll be honest.
Being honest, I didn't want the Fury Wilder fight. I didn't want the first. I think as soon as that fight got announced, I do think the Whyte and Joshua, they're the best fights you could have asked for from it. Whyte, you don't want him to take too much of a difficult fight. You don't want him to slip up. You still want to get the title shot. So I think it's not a nobody. Someone who might cause him a few trouble in a few rounds, but he should come out. He should come out unscathed, and he should get another big fight. Hopefully, maybe Fury end of the year. And Joshua Usyk, for me, you're not getting Joshua Fury. This is the best fight for Joshua. I honestly thought it was going to be everyone thinking Joshua's won it. But when you talk to people, a lot of people are 50-50. I'm surprised how many people think that Usyk could win it when his first two heavyweight bouts have just been, he hasn't looked comfortable. And now he's going against one of the best, one of the most powerful heavyweights who can box. He's not the best boxer at heavyweight, but I think he uses power and boxing ability the best. But that's what I think.
Right, so are you there, Scott?
Yeah, I'm there. Sorry, Josh, mate. I was going to hand it over to yourself. I was waiting to see what you think of these three fights and give your opinion. What are you thinking with these three? Are you? Because I'm quite excited. I think Ben, you seem excited for at least two out of the three. You're kind of similar though, aren't you, with Wilder? If I'm not mistaken, Josh, you're kind of a bit fed up with it. You think Fury's possible.
Yeah,
well, we won't give our thoughts about what's going to happen because we'll do those as separate previews. But you're a bit fed up with the fight in general.
Yeah, no, I mean, starting off, agree with Ben. Joshua Usyk's a great fight. I think,
Yeah.
if you're not getting the Fury fight, arguably I'd prefer Dillian Whyte because, it's just a standing joke about his world title shot. But, we get it's the WBO mandatory. He was going to lose the belts. He's made no secret for the last few years while Wilder was hiding in America that he wanted to be the undisputed champion. So he's got to do what he's got to do. And it's a brilliant fight. I am really excited for that. October the 9th, Fury Wild. I'm just sick of it. It's had how many rearrangements? You've got Bob Arum and Frank Warren talking, it's the two best heavyweights on the planet and all this. And, it's comical because if it happens, which is a big if, because there's been no promotion, considering it's such a big fight. Normally, it's in bus stops, it's on social media everywhere. And the promotion of it's been absolutely shocking. How Frank Warren and Bob Arum can actually call themselves promoters of this fight it's ridiculous. Accusing the title lads for your job. And then, it's not selling tickets. I had a look again the other day. You can still buy tickets in virtually every section of the arena. It's not like they've gone in Vegas and they're doing the Allegiant Stadium where, you can have 70, 80, 90,000 people. You're just in the T-Mobile Arena. A world heavyweight title fight should be selling it out. But I don't blame people because it's not a trilogy in terms of it's one each, or even like the Canelo-Golovkin fight where you've drew and then Canelo's won. There's other than a contract says so, there's no reason for the trilogy. Not just saying it as biased Brits. Fury boxed his head off for the first fight and then he absolutely destroyed him in the second. There's no call, no one's interested. I mean, we'll still watch it, obviously, but I think it's going to take something special for Wilder to bring anything different than he's already got. And then obviously Dillian Whyte. Now, it's sort of in what's next as well, because for 3-4 years now, Dillian Whyte has been highly ranked. He's took on dangerous fight after dangerous fight. We nearly saw it all go wrong against Alexander Povetkin last year at Fight Camp 1. And, I'm so happy now he's taking a lower risk fight. I think it's ridiculous. Some social media accounts, it's like as you scroll and you recognise, they've slagged him off for taking risky fight after risky fight. And now the very same people are slagging him off for potentially fighting Chris Arreola. It's like, no, come on, guys. He's got, for me, the only other heavyweight with as good a resume as Dillian Whyte is Anthony Joshua. I'm a big Fury fan, but he's not got the resume, in fairness. So hats off to Dillian Whyte. And, again, it moves us nicely onto what's next, actually. So I'll briefly go through it and then pass it back to you guys and see what you think. So obviously, Tyson Fury made some very controversial comments the back end of last week, didn't he? Talked about his 5-fight plan. So he's obviously Deontay Wilder, October the 9th. He then said Dillian Whyte, December. Then he wants AJ in March in Saudi Arabia. The rematch in, I think, September, he said, at Wembley. And then he'll give Derek Chisora a trilogy fight in December. Now, I've got a few thoughts before I give this you back, because I've got to get it out. I do like Tyson Fury, so I'm not bashing him. I'm a fan of his. But what does he think? Ben's gone.
Ben's disappeared.
He's realised how orange his beard's looking.
That's what it is. Yeah, carry on, mate.
So, we've got Tyson Fury.
Back.
There you go, Ben. He's been out the ring 18 months.
Yeah.
What world are we expected to believe that he's going to take 5 fights in what is effectively 15 months? I'd love to see it, but, and when you look at, so they've got to go to Eddie Hearn for the Dillian Whyte fight and possibly make it on DAZN. Now, they've then got to obviously do the deal, which presumably it can get resurrected for the 2 undisputed fights. They've then got to drum up the funds for a Chisora fight. We're big Chisora fans. He's massively entertaining. But the sort of money involved, I think you'd be back as what you were last December when there was talk of Fury fighting Ajit Kabayel in London. But obviously it was locked down, so no fans. And they had to sort of say in the end, we can't get the funds together for the fight. It's too expensive. So is this now an admission of Tyson Fury that my team are pretty crap? They can't get me the fights. I've had 18 months out. I've now got to go and try and speak to Eddie Hearn and get him to pay me, and I'll fight his fighters. I mean, I'll pass it back to you guys. I just don't get it. It's bizarre, and unless something happens with his team, it just won't happen.
I quite like it. I quite like his fight plan, to be honest. The only problem I really have, I don't even have a problem with it, because I think it'll be kind of like a give a Chisora a last send off kind of fight. I think me personally, I don't mind his list. I think the Joshua one we're going to have to see at least twice. Well, I mean, let's face it, if it ends up 1-1, there'd be a trilogy there. I think with Dillian Whyte, I think if he can get him in December, he deserves that title shot. So if Fury's being genuine, he's going to offer him a decent amount of money. Then I'll kind of say fair play to him. I know he's saying, oh, it's going to be a Joshua warm-up fight. He might actually see that in himself in his actual mind, but he might see Whyte as just a bit of a warm-up fight for Joshua. I don't think you can write off Dillian Whyte. I still don't think you can write off Deontay Wilder either. That's the only thing I don't like about this 5-fight plan. I don't want him taking his head off the ball quite yet with Wilder, especially you've stressed he's been out the ring for 18 months. Could that cause some problems? Could that cause, if he doesn't, we know Fury in the last fight, he went in the first 2 or 3 rounds. If he doesn't do that, again in this one, but he's not on it straight away, could that cause a problem? I don't know. But the one thing I have to say about the Derek Chisora one, right? David Hayes been calling out Tyson Fury. One thing I would love to see is Fury go, right, that last fight, if it actually set up, about August next year, he beats Joshua and he goes, right, Chisora, you and David A have another scrap, and whoever wins it gets to fight me. Because that would be absolutely beautiful to see. David A, who's trained Chisora, decided to come back into boxing, decides to call out Fury. He gets his opportunity, but he has to go through the man that's been an absolute pain in the arse to train for the last 2-3 years. I think I would love to see that. So the 5-fight plan, I love it. Do I think it's actually going to happen? No.
See, I've got to echo most of what you two are saying. I think the 5-fight plan is brilliant. I'd love to see it. But one, doesn't mean he's going to beat all them. He's not going to walk through them all, and that's the way he's talking. It's not going to happen in that small amount of time. I do think the Hay Chisora, that would be brilliant. Because I think Hay calling out Fury is a bit wild. It's never gonna happen. But I think going back on a few things you've said, with the Whyte fight, I do think him and Fury then would be brilliant. If that's not going to happen, they're saying this fight sets up him against Ruiz. I think that's a perfect fitting fight. Two big names, a big fight. I think that sets it up really nicely. And if he does get Fury, because Fury could get hurt in this fight. He might win, but he could get hurt. And I think you're not going to do that. And I'm not sure if we're going to find out one in those fights, find out Fury's floor. I think Wilder could stop him. I don't want it to happen. But if he is looking past him, like Scott said, he could get hurt because the one punch of power that Wilder has, he can stop people. He's put Fury down before. He can do it again. And what if he keeps him down? And now I'm quite nervous about it because I don't like Wilder. So I'm quite nervous, but optimistic.
So quickly then, we'll go around all 3 of us.
Right.
Quickly summarise what we think will happen next. I'll go first.
Go on.
I think AJ beats Usyk. I think I've said it from day one. I think he stops him round 7 to 9. I just think the size, it'll be too much. Fury Wilder, I don't think it even happens yet. I honestly don't. I'm not the only one to think this. Just with the lack of promotion, the lack of ticket sales, someone's going to absolutely shoot their bolt financially if they put the fight on. I can see it just going and disappearing. Whyte beats Areola. Then I think we get AJ possibly, he might take, depending on the Fury situation, he might take a tune-up fight against, I don't know, we could see a Ruiz trilogy, someone in that sort of next tier down. I think we could see that at the start of next year, depending on Fury. But with Fury Wilder getting cancelled, I think we could see Fury Hay in December. It'll be a financial fight in this country. Gets Fury back in the ring, and let's be honest, it's not too dangerous because Hayes' whole game plan relies on speed and reflexes, which were gone against Tony Bellew. So he's definitely not going to have them obviously back 3 years out the ring, is he? And then I think we'll see the likes of Dillian Whyte in with Andy Ruiz.
Interesting. I'll go next. I think the AJ Usyk one, that's going to be interesting. But what I'm going to say is I think everyone wants AJ to win. So let's just go with that theory. Let's say AJ wins that. I think that then sets up this double spectacle in the summer. I think that's no question. Next year, we'll see 2 fights, Joshua and Fury, at least 2 fights. And I think it'll then depend on how both those fights go. But they'll both want warm-up fights. I don't think AJ will be done either. So I do think AJ could potentially take an easier looking fight. Could he fight someone like a Derek Chisora? Could he have a rematch with someone like a Joseph Parker? If it doesn't happen to the summer or March, I think he's still going to want one more to keep going. I think he's going to want to be as active as Fury is. If Wilder Fury doesn't happen, I almost agree with your exact thing, Josh, but I honestly do think he takes on Dillian Whyte. I think Hay would be easy money. I think it would sell tickets just because of David Hay being a previous big fighter and just, I mean, to be fair, it don't matter who Fury fights, does it? But if this is going to be I think he sells the tickets by himself. But if this is going to be the fight before he steps in the ring with Joshua, I think he needs someone of the caliber of Dillian Whyte. And if it isn't going to be a Dillian Whyte, then maybe he faces a Usyk or he faces a Parker even. I just don't quite see him stepping in the ring with someone, like David Hay, because I think if he does that, he's putting himself in a really ridiculous and dangerous position going into Anthony Joshua. I think he needs a fight against a really respectable opponent before you step in the ring with AJ. And let's be honest, I don't think David Hay is that guy. I really don't. So it's gonna be interesting. I think Wilder, no matter what happens, let's just say he loses in this scenario. I think Wilder, then you see Wilder end up fighting Ruiz. I think that'll be a big American clash next year. And I can see, the 4 or 5 big American heavyweights kind of doing their own thing for the next year of once Fury and Joshua aren't available. So I guess that's my prediction of how I see things going for the next 12 months in the heavyweight scene.
See, I don't think we'll ever see Fury Joshua. I just don't think we'll ever see it. I think Wilder will beat Fury, and it wouldn't surprise me if they go for a 4 fight. It really would not surprise me. But then I do think what will happen is you'll get Whyte will fight Ruiz at the end of the year. I agree with Josh with how the AJ fight will go against Usyk. I think AJ could take at the end of the year to Joyce. It wouldn't surprise me if he gets that fight in, a tune-up which you think he'd come out on top in. And then I think there's more chance of an AJ Whyte than an AJ Fury. And I think they'll both just think, go for it. Whyte will get his shots at that. And maybe whatever happens with Fury and Wilder, I do think one of them will take an easy fight, lose. And the undisputed could be more like Ruiz beating Wilder for the belt and then a third fight in that. I just can't see Fury. I agree with Josh. I think Fury's more likely to go for Hay. And he'll turn around and he'll sell it on the fact that they should have fought twice and Hay ran away. He wants to prove that he was going to destroy him, and I just can't see Fury taking a difficult fight that isn't Wilder.
Well, this is the thing, he doesn't. So firstly, it's obviously in respect to what you're saying, Scott, I agree with a lot of it, but Tyson Fury, unless it happens in this country, which is hard work because of his ESPN deal, he doesn't sell tickets in America. That's clearly what the issue is. I know Deontay Wilder's not got the biggest fan base either, never has had, in terms of ticket sales.
Even harder under COVID, isn't it? Because
exactly, I think he's not going to sell the tickets.
Yeah, let's not forget the last fight. I think didn't we have like a good 4,000 or 5,000 of those seats would have been UK fans that had headed over to Vegas. You're not going to get that at the moment.
Well, not just that. I think was it for the first fight they had 1,000 firemen in relation to a bus fire that the tickets were comped. So so he's not a ticket seller, and I think what we've seen is BT in this country to put a fight on. Their pockets aren't deep enough. There's rumours of DAZN taking over BT going forward. So I can see in that respect why the Whyte fight might happen. But at the same time, as Ben so rightfully said, and I was genuinely going to say it, look at Tyson Fury, his resume. He's beat Chisora when they were up and coming, both of them, for the British. He beat Chisora again to make himself a mandatory for, I believe it was the WBO at the time. Obviously, it was back in 2014. Then, in fairness, he went and did an absolute job on Klitschko in Germany, so hats off for that. And then Drew beat Wilder twice. Other than that, he doesn't take hard interim fights. In fairness to Joshua, his resume is back-to-back, either unifications or mandatories. Dylan Whyte, back-to-back big fights.
What about Joe Joyce then? Could that happen?
I think it's too tough a fight.
Even
And I don't
Joyce?
think yeah, I know you're not a fan of Joyce, but I think it's too tough. I can see Joshua potentially thinking that route, but at the same time, you know, everyone and Sam Jones, he's great, isn't he? He's a boxing manager for his fighters. But, you know, the WBO mandatory is about to happen. It's not then going to be called immediately again. You're looking at 12, 18 months. So Joshua, if he sees that as a dangerous fight for himself, he might think, do you know what? I'll wait and chance my arm. And he might just sit on the bench and wait for the Fury fight. I really hope he doesn't, because he's not been that active the last few years with COVID and everything else. But I can see that.
Sorry, Josh. I was just going to say, would this be a fair assessment then from what you're saying? I'm trying to think on what you're saying. Do you think then whoever's the less scared to take on the bigger fight come December, January time could potentially have the upper hand then in this Joshua Fury debate?
Possibly, yeah. But I mean, you know, Dylan Whyte's probably the hardest fight available for both. And although Fury's mentioned it, if Dylan Whyte's in the ring October the 30th, unless he has like a 1 or 2 round straight demolition job, he's not going to be back this year, is he? He might get a fight February time. January, we don't tend to get the big fights unless it's the last weekend. So it's poised perfectly in a lot of ways, because, you know, AJ and Fury, all being well, are fighting within a fortnight of each other. There's no reason why before Christmas we shouldn't get an announcement for March in Saudi Arabia, and they'll have had 6 months out. But I would understand that 6-month rest. It's quite common nowadays, isn't it? And I'd get the 6-month rest if we've got that it's coming, definitely. But what I think particularly Matchroom and Joshua will be keen to avoid is a 4-month negotiation period. I mean, I was tuning in. I assume most people were. Every week, Eddie Hearn's on IFL, and, you know, he made a joke of it himself in the end when he kept saying 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. Neither fighter can afford that. I mean, Fury's 32 now. I know heavyweights go on longer, but in relation to what Ben said, I can see this turning into a Mayweather-Pacquiao situation, and we end up getting the fight for the payday in a few years, and they're not in their primes, and that scares me. I just don't want that to happen.
It's just so ridiculous, isn't it? This should be one of the easiest fights to sort. You just split everything 50-50.
But it's heavyweight boxing. Heavyweights, there's so much quality to go to the fight. Like, I look at all this, and this last year, I've been just fed up for the heavyweight division. They're not active enough. They're not getting out there. If you want the blueprint of a fighter, you look at Canelo. December, beat a unbeaten world champion in Smith. Then he's mandatory in March. Then maybe another unbeaten world champion, Billy Joe. And in November, he's going for an undisputed unbeaten champion. And he's going to be undisputed because I think he'll win it. That's 4 fights in a year. That's 3 unbeaten world champions. That's the blueprint of a fighter you want to watch. Just heavyweights. If you're an upcoming fighter, don't look at these heavyweights. They do my head in with negotiations, money. Get in the ring, fight, and prove you the best. That's all as fans want to see. Prove you the best. And they don't. And I'll tell you now, it does my head in.
See, but I'm going to defend, in fairness, I'm going to defend Dylan Whyte. He's done that time and time again. He's got him with the best available. And I'm going to defend Joshua. I know, Ben, you're not a big fan of him. I know you're not too struck on him.
His resume is good. But
he's done it
more often. When we did last fight, who cares who he's fighting? Get in the ring and fight. That's my point.
Yeah, I agree. I think
no,
but you've got too long.
No, but you've got to defend him there. Okay, last year there was the delay with COVID. But you have to understand, he's the biggest commercial draw, certainly in UK boxing, possibly in world boxing other than Canelo. The finances involved in that fight, doing it in a global pandemic, especially because, look at last year, we came in and out of lockdown like a yo-yo. Can we put a show on? No, we can't. Yes, we can. So he fought in December. Then Frank Warren, Bob Arum, the whole negotiations back and forth on the Undisputed. That's the only reason he's not fought already this year. Because that got prolonged and prolonged and prolonged. He was supposed to fight in August and then rematch December. So we were supposed to see the 2 Undisputeds this year. You can't blame Match. They'd all but announced it. Tyson Fury, in fairness to him, had announced it on his Instagram. Then obviously the arbitration thing, and now we're where we are. But we cannot slag, and on this channel, I don't care what you two say. We are not going to sit and slag Anthony Joshua or Dylan Whyte off for the egos thing, because they've tried to make the fights. They've made the biggest fights that they can. or for Joshua, he's fought mandatories. If you want the belts, you've got to do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we might slag him off if he gets slapped up by Usyk, and if he does, I'll be there going, Usyk, Usyk, Usyk.
Well, to be fair, we'll be sat downstairs in my house doing it. So there'll be a fight in our living room if that's what the crack is.
I agree with what you're saying. I do get what you're saying. But as a fan, if your son wanted to be a boxer, would you tell him to follow the blueprint of a heavyweight? That's all I'm asking. Or would you say follow the blueprint of Canelo?
No, I'd be saying, see that you contradict yourself there. I'd be saying follow the blueprint of a Canelo, apart from the doping question marks that are now there.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But I'd also say follow the blueprint of a Dylan Whyte, follow the blueprint of an Anthony Joshua. You know, world title in his 16th fight. Every fight since is for a world title. Who's doing this?
Well,
you know, I'm a fan of Fury and Joshua. Who else is doing it? Fury didn't do it. You know, we all laughed at Eddie Hearn's comments last week. Me and Tyson Fury have got something in common. We've got the same amount of world title defenses.
That is ridiculous.
He's absolutely bang on. Fury's biggest mistake is he signed. I know Eddie Hearn supposedly knocked him back because of it at the time, his weight issues, and obviously was off the rails. Signing with Frank Warren in the UK, Bob Arum in America, it's a joke. Frank Warren shows are just poor generally, and then Bob Arum in America. You know, look what he's done with Terence Crawford. You know, he's showing he's a legendary promoter, as is Frank Warren, and it's not just a total slag them off. But they've shown that they can't manage these big names successfully now. Frank Warren's hanging out his own cash cow to dry with Daniel Dubois for absolute no-hopers, and then he got absolutely pasted by Joe Joyce. Now they'll try and do the same again. You need to be managed properly. The fights need to happen for him, because I do think Tyson Fury is probably the best heavyweight going at the minute, but he's not getting the support. He's not got the management. He's not got the shows. It's the options aren't there for him. You know, you hear Eddie Hearn talk about Joshua or Dylan Whyte. You can see he's who I would want sat at the table for me, because he's going to war for his fighters. I don't get that same vibe. But when the negotiations were going on backwards and forwards for the undisputed fight, Frank Warren almost seemed like it was sort of not really his problem. And I don't know what the exact, the situation is with Top Rank being his US promoters. And Bob Arum, by the sounds of it, was talking out his arse, because 1 minute it was all happening, the next it was dead in the water, and then it was so. You know, we've got to have consistency. You're right. Get rid of the egos. The best fight the best. But the only person we're hearing say that on a consistent basis is Anthony Joshua. And you know, I love Fury, I do, but less talk, more action. Go and get that 5-fight plan together. And if he does, let's be honest, and he came through, we'd all be sat here next to him saying best heavyweight ever. Certainly of our generation, possibly ever.
Definitely. And I think, I don't know, I just think the whole thing's gone on for too long. I think I'm kind of in the middle of both you, actually, where I think Joshua at times probably could have done more. Fury definitely could have done more. Ben, unless you have anything else to say, I mean, my closing statement is going to be the fact that I just hope Joshua and Fury both get slapped up. I really do. I hope both of them lose. I hope both of them don't get the money. And I hope that Usyk and Wilder are great champions and they give us the fights that we've been waiting for. And that's it. I hope both of them get slapped up.
Come on. Wilder ran away. He's a heavyweight.
Wilder won't fight anybody.
Wilder won't.
He fought Fury because he thought, he's been out the ring and it's a name.
It'll only be the same as Joshua and Fury anyway. So, like, for me, I'm just sick of the whole Joshua Fury fight. I hope they both get slapped up and they can do it without a title, and hopefully no one will care then. They won't get £10 and
we'll care.
Maybe they could fight on a Jake Paul undercard or something for all I care.
No.
I get sick of both of them. Come on, Wilder. Come on, Usyk. Ben, Josh, any closing thoughts to that statement?
Right. I specifically don't want what you've been smoking.
Guys, we are doing a watch along, remember, for the Usyk fight. I'm calling it the Usyk fight now. It's not even the Joshua fight. It's the Usyk fight. I will be sat in the Usyk corner. These two will be probably looking at Joshua's cheeks and wishing they were making them clap. I certainly won't. Yeah, guys, do you have any closing statements before I do my usual like the video crap?
No, you've lost your head.
No.
But I think we've
Well,
said
there we
it.
go then, guys. Like the
We
button,
need you
press
to
that
stop.
like button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you on the next video, whenever that is. Goodbye.